Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. As we speak, there are people in Congress involved in conversations so that we can do something. Ignoring, of course, that for the last 50 years, we gun owners have been doing something, teaching gun safety, teaching safe gun handling, teaching safe gun storage. But that's not enough. And of course, then we have a shooting in Philadelphia, and the cries are, we must do something, and the Republicans are blocking this. And wait, let's start. You understand that the mayor of Philadelphia is Democrat. The mayor of Chicago is Democrat. The United States Senate is controlled by Democrats. The United States House is controlled by Democrats. The presidency is controlled by Democrats. But you're saying it's the Republicans that need to be doing something. We'll have some more details on some of the conversations that are going on. There's some things, it's very possible something may happen, something may get passed. But the interplay of it is fascinating and enlightening and sometimes enraging and disheartening. I'll give you some details on that as we go along. But let's sidetrack. Let's go all the way back to what we're still talking about. And that's not a bad thing. The mass murder in Uvalde, in a school where the police refused to go in. And it's like peeling an onion. We keep getting more and more information. And it's a pleasure to be able to be joined by my friend Wayne Black from Wayne Black and Associates, who has trained an awful lot of police and teachers and school security people and a lot of other people, secret squirrel types. Wayne, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Tom. Always good to talk to you.
I didn't know where to start on this thing. You have worked with people in uniform, people who are not in uniform, self-defense, law enforcement, three-letter agency type peoples. With that background, and you go all over the place with this, and you actually offer pro bono training for churches, I know. As we kept finding out more and more about the Uvalde situation, and at first it's like, okay, well, we don't really know what happened. Let's wait for the information to come in. Let's not be too judgmental. We're a couple of weeks out now. What's your take?
Well, Tom, it just gets worse every day. I mean, the first day, it's just unimaginable that after Columbine and Parkland and all those other schools, that this could ever happen, that these guys, again, at this school weren't prepared, weren't trained, showed cowardice, retreated. I mean, I could go on and on. It just blows me away. My blood pressure's at 800 every time I even think about it. But the fact remains that 75 minutes, over an hour, and it was only then that a guy left a barbershop with a borrowed gun, a citizen-owned gun, to stop this thing while officers just stood around and did not engage. So, and how about this? The school police chief shows up with no radio. So there was really no command and control there. Look, since Columbine and even before Parkland, the plan has always been, first officer on the scene, you go in. Immediately after Columbine, it was wait on a quad, wait on four, but then that changed after Sandy Hook. So first guy responds, and then the training is so simple. The priorities of life. We train on the priorities of life, and they are, in this order, hostages and students, 2, innocent civilians, 3, law enforcement, and the last priority is the suspect. And you work it in that order. So the number one priority beyond their life was to go in and rescue those students. They were calling. A little girl called 37 minutes after while the shooting was going on and said, my teacher's been shot. She's still alive. Please help us. And they called 911. They did nothing. Police chief probably didn't know that because he didn't have his radio.
That's a total Barney Fife kind of move. I mean, it's just, there's absolutely no limit to the disgust and the condemnation that these people deserve.
And Tom, the school board is backing the police chief. They didn't want to do anything to him. So that shows where they are. Look, I think in the end of the day, when this all rolls out, that police chief probably should face manslaughter charges for his utter malfeasance and failure. as well as some of the other people to go in. I was so upset about this, I called a friend of mine, Dr. Harley Stock, who's a forensic psychologist, and I said, "What in the world happened?" He said, "Well, you've heard of fight or flight?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "There are three things: fight, flight, and freeze. And the freeze part is parasympathetic nervous system. They were neurologically probably unable to engage because of lack of training and some other things. Basically, fear. That could have been it. But
well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. It cannot be that 100% of the cops there had that reaction. There had to be that some of them said, "This is BS. There are kids dying in there. I'm going to go regardless of the orders, regardless of the policy, regardless of the procedure, and regardless of my pension. I'm going to go save kids." But not a single one did.
Not until the Border Patrol guy got there and said, "Screw it, I've got a shotgun. Let's go in." But that was at 75 minutes. Well, this guy killed. Like in Parkland, Tom, I believe, if we ever know this, but I believe that half of those people bled to death.
Yes, they were savable. Yes.
Yes.
Now here's a question for you, and this is like, let's take it right to the point of the whole issue. Because you train teams, church teams, school teams, everything else. A couple or three or four staff members, I don't care if they're teachers or janitors or principals or whatever they are, or lunchroom workers who are trained and had guns, could they not have stopped this?
Sure. Well, look, the plan is, the national standard is the first guy that gets there now. It's a one-on-one. You're not even supposed to wait for two or three people anymore. You're supposed to engage, at least throw down some fire to stop it. Look, this guy, the shooter, is 2 feet taller than the children because they're 10-year-olds, right?
Right.
Why didn't he shoot him through the window?
I wondered that. They could see him through the window. Just shoot him, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, look, you and I have both been to gun sight and trained. What about slicing the pie? What about taking a quick kneel so the round goes up? Shoot him through the window. At least get his attention if you miss.
Well, that's a good point, because I was talking to Chris Serino about it, who's worked the FASTER program in Ohio. He said, "Look, just go in there and start firing some shots in a safe direction. You now have broken up his OODA loop. You have made him pay attention to you and stop shooting kids. At least you have some effect on it, and you can work from that point."
Yep, and we know from history that when you engage an active shooter like this, they typically are going to stop, at least change the OODA loop or commit suicide. So
right.
they should have done something. It was just outrageous. I can't believe we're even talking about it today. But you know what? We always say with some departments, depending on who the bean counter is, it might be cheaper to bury an officer than to train one properly.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, I am disgusted. I'm tired of hearing my number one job is to go home safe at the end of the shift. If that is your opinion, if that's your approach as a cop, turn in your damn badge.
Yep. Well, remember what Paul Howe said, the famous quote from the Delta operator Paul Howe: "We pay you to go in, not to come home."
Yeah, that was Black Hawk Down guy, Paul Howe. If you don't know him, CSAT training in Nacogdoches, Texas is very much worth your time to go check that out. Wayne, I know a lot of people are saying, okay, what can we do here? You offer training, you do all sorts of stuff. Tell them how they can get a hold of you.
Well, they can they can call me at wayneblack.com. I'm here in Miami, but I'm really strapped to an airplane seat. Look, here's another thing. We qualify private school armed people every quarter. Law enforcement agencies typically across the country qualify once a year. So it depends on what the training is.
Mm-hmm. Well, there it is. And one trained armed person inside is worth 1 million people in the parking lot that won't come in.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how those people sleep. The people that tase the parents and handcuff the parents and put up a yellow rope and while the shooting was going on, how do they sleep at night?
Can't even imagine. And no, I'm not even going to go there. Just it does not take a lot of imagination to come up with a concept of retribution against some of those. Not calling for it, but I will not be surprised if I wake up one morning and read that in the papers. It's just, I can't even imagine what's going on in the minds and the hearts of people there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the people out there will never forget this, and something will happen. But something's got to happen to that police chief. And here's another thing: they have school security officers who didn't have a master key to all the classrooms.
Right. Yeah. Border Patrol guy shows up and said, "Is there a janitor around?" Janitors have keys, and that's how he gets in. For heaven's sakes! I mean, how hard is this?
And now we're hearing that the teacher shut the door, but the lock was broken.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. Wayne Black, thank you so much. Check it out, folks. WayneBlack.com. You can take a look there, offering horrific training. Thank you. And I wish we had more time, and I'm hoping we don't have to do this again, but unfortunately, that's probably wishful thinking. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. We'll be back. The chances of another school shooting are 100%.
100%. Good go.